children's books. Meow.
Hello, Mark Dorey here, Tomser Cat Storytelling, and today we're going to be looking at story hooks and what a story hook is, but we're not going to do it with just any old author. We're going to do it with Roald Dahl and the BFG. So if you like this channel, why don't you like, subscribe and click the bell so you'll never miss another episode. Okay, so on average, a person when they go into a bookstore or into a library, they might look at your book for an average of 8 seconds. That's 8 seconds. So you need to hook someone in straight away. And what better way than to look at Mr. Roald Dahl and the BFG. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to read the opening page of the BFG, and we will look at some of the words he uses to hook the reader in. Okay. So the first chapter is called The Witching Hour. Sophie couldn't sleep. A brilliant moonbeam was shining through a gap in the curtain. It was shining right on to her pillow. The other children in the dormitory had been asleep for hours. Sophie closed her eyes and lay quite still. She tried very hard to doze off. It was no good. The moonbeam was like a silver blade shining through the room onto her face. The house was absolutely silent. No voices came from downstairs. There was no footsteps on the floor above either. The window behind the curtain was wide open, but nobody was walking on the pavement outside. No cars were on the street. Not the tiniest sound could be heard anywhere. Sophie had never known such a silence. Perhaps, she told herself, this was what they called the witching hour. The witching hour, somebody had once whispered to her, was a special moment in the middle of the night when every child and every grown-up was in a deep, deep sleep. And all the dark things came out from hiding and had the world to themselves. And that is the opening page of, well, a brilliant book, the BFG, from master storyteller Roald Dahl. And what I want to do is sort of look at the key words he uses through the book. So I don't know why I put the book down, because I'm going to pick it back up. And look at this. The opening chapter is called The Witching Hour. So straight away you're thinking, oh, what's that about? And then the very opening line, the very first line, Sophie couldn't sleep. Why couldn't she sleep? What was happening? Well, if you read on, the next line, a brilliant moonbeam. There's this brilliant moonbeam coming through the curtains. And where is it shining? It's shining right onto her pillow. And it's not just shining onto her pillow. Roald Dahl describes it like a silver blade. Ooh, a silver blade. That's a bit sinister, isn't it? And then he describes how everything is completely silent. And then it says, Sophie had never known such a silence. And then he says, it's the witching hour. The witching hour. A special moment in the middle of the night when everyone was in a deep, deep sleep. Where dark things come out from hiding, and they had the world to themselves. So can you imagine you being Sophie? The reader is right there with Sophie. You're lying in your dormitory. There's not a sound, and a silver blade of light comes through, and it just captures you. And the thing is, this is a story hook that has captured millions of children throughout the world with the BFG. Look, I'm like the BFG today. And so as a children's author, I try and have a story hook right at the start of every story. And in this book here, which is Polly's Magic Bubbles, this is the second one, Revenge of the Spiders. I have a story hook, and I'm just gonna go through the story hook now. So when the story starts, you see Polly, and she's walking home from school, and it says, Polly thought she was being followed. Polly sensed she was being followed. Polly knew she was being followed. Someone or something was following her. She wished her best friend Marcia was with her, but Marcia was off school home ill. She was ill at home. And so Polly would have to face it all on her own. She decided that she would try and be brave and turn on a count of 3 to see exactly who or what was following her. 1, 2, 3. She spun around, and there on the pavement behind her was a strange creature, a cross between a squirrel and a skunk with blazing red eyes. As soon as Polly turned around, the creature stared and then ran up a nearby tree. Polly walked towards the tree, and as she looked up into the canopy, she saw these red eyes gazing down at her from the foliage. And as she stood right underneath, suddenly a giant spider web came down and pinned her to the ground. Polly couldn't move as a giant spider started getting lower and lower, red eyes blazing, pincers clacking, lower and lower. Polly tried to scream, and suddenly she woke up. It was all a dream. Whew, for Polly, that was close. But there was something in her mouth, and Polly reached up and grabbed, and as she pulled, there was a string of sticky spider web coming from her mouth. So that's the very opening of Polly's Magic Bubbles, Revenge of the Spiders, and you can see how I tried to hook the reader in. Polly thought she was being followed. Polly sensed she was being followed. Polly knew she was being followed. And then just building the tension and building the tension. So that's the second Polly book, but this is the first Polly book. Don't read the second Polly book without reading the first one. This is available from Tomser Cat Books, and it's $4.99, and there's a link in the description below. And this is available too from Tomser Cat Books. It's only available from us for $6.99. This is 100 pages. This is 200 pages. So the adventures get bigger. So hopefully now you will have seen how a story hook works using Roald Dahl and using my Polly books too. So if you'd like this video, please like and subscribe and click the bell so you'll never miss another episode. So that's it for today. Join us again when we will be looking at more things Roald Dahl related for Roald Dahl Day. This is Mark Dorey, signing off.
Tomser Cat home of brilliant children's books.